So example on periodic function. It is given that write down mathematical expression to describe the function whose graph is as follows. So it means they have given the graph. Now I want to write down what is the equivalent mathematical expression for the given graph. Right? Friends, we know that it is an f of t and this axis is t axis. And they have given a graph between the interval 0 and 1. What is the graph? So this is the graph lies between 0 and 1. And in between the interval 1 and 2 is, so this is the graph, right? And in between the interval 2 and 3, so this is the graph. Similarly, between 3 and 4 is this, right? 4 and 5, I hope you'll get this graph. 5 and 6, this graph, and so on. It will repeat the same thing. So then you can think about the period. What is the period of the graph? The period of the graph is one interval, right? The period of the graph is one interval. It repeats the same graph for a period. Is it clear? Then you can write down the period. What is the period? Period is equal to 1, right? And second point is you can write down the interval. So 0 is less than or equal to t is strictly less than 1. Okay. So for this interval, function remains constant. Then what is the equation? I hope you will get f of t is equal to 1. Right? So in this interval, function remains constant means I hope you will get this graph. This graph, it repeats the same thing, right? For another interval, say for example, 1 is less than or equal to t is strictly less than 2. In this interval, what is the function? Function becomes 0, right? In the interval 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6 and so on. In all these cases, function becomes 0. Right? So it means the same thing will repeat for every period. Then periodic function can be described, right, for the given graph as follows. So f of t is equal to, you may get 1 for the interval t should be strictly less than 1. Right? Sometimes you may get a 0 for the interval 1 is less than or equal to t is strictly less than 2. What is the period? Period is 1. Right? So it means, so you can define or you can describe the entire graph by using the function f of t is equal to 1. So 0 is less than or equal to t is less than 1. F of t is equal to 0 when 1 is less than or equal to t is strictly less than 1. So it means you will get 1 in this interval. I hope we can obtain this graph. Right? You will get equal to 0 in the interval 1 and 2. I hope you will get this part of the graph. Right? And the same thing will repeat for each and every period. Again you can obtain this graph. Right? Similarly, it becomes 0 between the interval 3 and 4, right? Say for example, in between 5 and 6, it remains constant, that is equal to 1. Again, in between 5 and 6, it remains 0, then you'll get this part, right? And it repeats the same thing for the next period. Is it clear? So this graph can be described mathematically by using this function. Sometimes we call it as it is a wave function. Thank you.